X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. Adam, was that...
Adam Reck,
What?
private investigator.
What? Run that by me one more time.
Adam Reck, private investigator.
Why do you have a southern accent?
I don't know.
For
I
this
was trying to do
noir
like
character?
a Bogart thing. I even practiced.
No,
and
you
it didn't-
sound like Yosemite Sam.
I know. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. Oh. Anyway,
You gotta have that. You gotta have that little bit of a deeper.
I think I was.
to
You know
it.
what I was trying to do was like a James
And it's a little
Cagney.
It was a little
like,
sing-songy, yeah.
You dirty rat. You know,
dirty
like.
rat.
But I screwed it up. Anyway.
Yeah, you went southern there, my dude.
I know
Hi
I have a
guys,
lot.
we're doing noir stories this week. We don't normally say hi to the audience, right?
Hi, audience. We're doing noir stories this week. We're waving to you from Black and White
everyone.
Turner Classic Movie Channel.
You like noir? You like dames and you like alleys and you like fog
Yeah.
and MacGuffins. This has all of that. We're talking about X-Men noir and other noir. We're an X-Men podcast, as I'm sure you well know. And John Wickman, who was one of our patrons, he went over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom. That's a fresh URL if you're curious. He went on over to that Patreon site and said, y'all, I'd love you to talk about X-Men Noir. And there are 4 X-Men Noir stories. But
That's a lot.
Adam,
Yeah.
how many stories do we cover on this podcast?
We only cover 3 stories, Zach. So
Per
how
episode?
did we make this decision?
We made this
choice?
decision because I did not want to read X-Men Noir Mark of Cain. It looked long. I did read it, though, because it was still in my Marvel Unlimited library, and I was like, well, I'll just knock it out. I got time on a Sunday afternoon. It's bad. We're not ranking it.
No.
It's wild nonsense. But let's go to the land of noir. The first story we're going to talk about is X-Men Noir. Hey, Adam,
Hi.
you know about sociopaths?
Oh, yeah. Sociopathy as opposed to being a mutant?
Yeah,
What?
the X-Men just don't have emotions, and they don't like feel any. They're sociopaths.
Oh my god.
They don't feel remorse.
Right. They don't have
wild.
powers. They don't have powers. They have character traits, and they're all sociopaths.
So Cyclops has a gun, and he's missing an eye, and he does wear sunglasses.
Red sunglasses.
He wears his red sunglasses at night.
Mm-hmm.
Beast is just a brawler guy.
It's got big feet.
Iceman is homophobic.
Super homophobic, but he is.
His entire character trait in this.
Yeah, I will give the characterization of Iceman several gold stars for him being the Iceman, and his weapon is an ice pick. That was kind of funny. The constant spewing of homophobia, not funny at all.
No. They're led by Professor Xavier, the Professor of Crime, who's in jail for being the Professor of Crime.
He's been harboring all of these sociopaths.
Yeah, instead of treating them at his psychiatry school, he just made them better criminals.
That's right.
Much to the chagrin of Chief Detective Eric Magnus, leader of the Brotherhood.
Led by Sebastian Shaw, has kind of given Magnus his start. And we also have
Not
a new...
through the police. Sebastian Shaw is not a cop. He's
Right.
a dirty, dirty criminal who owns the police.
Right. And then and new to the force, just getting started, is Peter, Eric's son.
Yeah, Peter Magnus. You know him in the regular world as Quicksilver. So
He's
this
slightly
is
slightly faster than a normal man.
He was a track star in college. He could have gone to the Olympics if the Great War didn't break out. This one's written by Fred Van Lente, who has written a lot of very good comics. Penciled, inked, and colored by Dennis Calero. Let's talk about the art for a second, Adam. What are the defining qualities of noir to you?
I mean, when we're talking about noir, I think about The Big Sleep. I think about The Maltese Falcon. I'm thinking Sam Spade. I'm thinking Philip Marlowe, Lauren Bacall, Bogart, right?
Kind of black and white, kind of
black
smoky.
and white, deep contrast, right? And there's like a dial here that feels like it's been turned a little bit too low on the brightness setting.
Yeah, there's no contrast. There's a lot of noir. No. There's a lot of dark. Not a lot of light, and not a lot of clarity of what figures you're looking at a given time. It's very difficult to know which one of these fedora-wearing men is who any time during this weird comic.
It would have been a very good plan to have done some character model sheets before they started making this book. Especially since Dennis is trying to do what I would describe as a more... I don't want to call it photorealistic, but he's definitely going for something that's supposed to look a lot more realistic. The problem is he can't be consistent about what his faces look like, or even like height or silhouettes, anything. So from panel to panel, very confusing. Like, am I looking at Quicksilver? Am I looking at Magneto? I don't know. They have the same haircut.
I'd say one thing that would have really helped this comic from an art standpoint and a clarity standpoint is a lot heavier use of like spot color, but very vibrant spot color, a la like the Sin City movie, for example. That they used that to great effect because it was black and white thing, but you use that spot color to be a pop. It emphasizes things, and since all of the characters have distinct characteristics, Cyclops has his red sunglasses. Iceman, you can just make him like have blue highlights. Magnus, you can have purple on it. And they do a little bit of that, but the contrast is so low.
It's so brown.
It's so low.
It's so washed out. And you're making an excellent point. I mean, I am a huge Frank Miller, Klaus Janson fan, and they do it right. You know what I mean? Like, when you go back and you read something like Dame to Kill For, they understand the dynamics. Frank Miller understands the dynamics. Even if you go back and read, Klaus Janson doing Daredevil with Frank Miller, like, they understand what that contrast is supposed to look like. This doesn't get it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You look at something like Hellboy, for example.
Sure.
A book that I do enjoy. Has a lot of those same dark noir elements to it, but it emphasizes color to separate things, not just with Hellboy being a big red demon man.
Right.
But with other characters and other aspects of the book, it does use that color to really set things apart. And this book doesn't do that. It looks like there's an Instagram filter over every page.
Yeah. The coloring of it is strange, but I feel like we're placing a lot of the blame on the artwork. The story does not help. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as if we're looking at a very clear-cut story. We didn't even get into, like, who is the most important character in this story that I had to search on Google because I had no idea who he was.
Okay, so what happens is there's a murder. That's how it starts out. A dame washes up on the beach, and wouldn't you know it, they fridge Jean Grey to start this thing.
That's right.
Just opening pages, she rolls up on the beach, and she's dead, and now all the boys are looking for her. She does have an X tattoo, which tells them coppers that she's one of them X-Men's.
One of them sociopaths.
She's one of them sociopaths. And the Brotherhood, led by Eric Magnus, does investigate this. They find out that Charles Xavier in his school has had a lot of problems. He tricked one of his students, Angel, into thinking that he could fly, but he jumped off of a building and killed himself. Poor Warren. Poor Rich Warren. Anyway, so you're set to think that, okay, Angel's dead. Beast and Scott and Bobby are here. Jean's dead because she's the girl, so she has to be fridged. And nope. Angel, Warren Worthington, is dead, But the Golden Age Angel, Tom Holloway, is alive. You remember how Warren Worthington III is a legacy character?
No.
Oh,
I didn't.
He is.
Cool.
We've read about him. Did we read about... No, we read about Red Raven. That's right.
We did read about Red Raven.
That's right. I have not read any Golden Age Marvel at all. I've read, like, the first issue of Marvel Comics with Namor. And then I was like, I'm good. Bill Everett, you're fine.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of me doing a double take as I'm, like I don't often double take at a piece of paper, or in this case, my iPad when I'm reading Marvel Unlimited. But I was like, wait, is that supposed to be Warren? Didn't Warren die? And then
no,
quick Google search later. The cool thing about it is I said this before we started recording. I think that character is probably the coolest part of the series. Like, I would have probably just read a Holloway Angel detective story. Like, I would have read that.
He's like a Golden Age pulp fiction character. That's what he is.
He's got a thin little mustache. He's going to blow up your Zeppelin,
He's the Shadow.
Sure.
He's the spirit.
Exactly.
He's got all that. That's great. That's fun. The rest of these characters are sociopaths and they're bad. We find out that Jean didn't actually die. Jean orchestrated the death of Anna Marie Raskin, who she copied all these people around her. I don't know what her deal was, but it's almost like she absorbed them.
Who could that be?
Who could that be? Anyway, she dyed Rogue's hair red and got her killed. And for reasons, honestly, I don't get her motivation. There's like 5 different double crosses in this, because there's this whole story about like Peter finding out that his dad's a corrupt cop and his dad owing things to Sebastian Shaw, and Shaw wanting Magnus to take out Unis, the untouchable criminal. And it's just kind of a mess, because I don't care about any of these guys.
They many
just share
plot
the names
threads
of some people I like.
Yeah.
This is only 4 issues.
Now, is using Unis the Untouchable as a gangster, like, that's a cool idea. Is it done successfully here? No. No, it is not. Like, there's so many plot threads that are trying to be woven together, and it's confusing, and it's a mess, and it never quite satisfactorily ties up. So I have to say, I did not enjoy this that much.
I did not enjoy it. I would not enjoy it. It's not something that I think that people would like. It's weird that this was successful enough to have so many spin-offs, right?
I mean, this all got started with Spider-Man Noir? Or what was
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Noir-niverse.
I mean, what stinks about this is, like, this is a cool concept to put, current... Or let's just say Marvel characters in general, put them in this genre and have sort of like this Elseworlds what if type scenario. Like, I think that's a cool idea. It's just not executed with any level of precision so that you can actually get something out of it as a story. I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, I'd agree. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah. So why don't we put this on our big list, Zach?
Our big list? Are you talking about our big list where we rank all the X-Men stories forever and ever and ever and ever and ever?
I sure am. I think it's got 387 stories on it now.
It does have 387 stories on it. The number 1 story on our list is the Dark Phoenix Saga. The 100th story on our list is The End of Greys from Uncanny X-Men. Number 200 is the first issue of Purple Era X-Force. Number 300 is New Mutants 98 to 100, Beginning of the End. And the last story on our list at 387 is The Draco. I don't think this is as good as that New Mutants story. Those 3 issues of New Mutants?
No.
At 300?
No, it's definitely in the 300s. Is this better or worse than IVX at 319?
It's worse than IVX.
Yeah,
it legitimately is. IVX has problems. IVX also has some highlights.
Is it worse?
This has lowlights.
Is it better or worse than Apocalypse versus Dracula at 327?
This one don't have Dracula in it.
It sure doesn't. And I think even the character nods there might have been a little bit more enjoyable than this. Geez, we're just working our way down.
Is it better or worse than X-Men The Hidden Year 6 and 7, that Storm story at 342?
As I said, I think I did enjoy the Angel stuff that's here. So I might put it ahead of those John Byrne issues.
It's not as good as the X-Force X-Man stuff in Onslaught, though.
All right, so that's going to make this our new 342.
Our new 342 is going to be X-Men Noir.
All right. Now, I think after we just started off with a story, we should move on to one that I enjoyed a little bit more, which is, what's the second story we're talking about this week, Zach?
It's Wolverine Noir.
Ooh. Now, I was anticipating this to be an extension of, we didn't mention this, but Wolverine does appear very briefly as a boat captain in X-Men Noir. So when I got over to this, I was like, oh, so we're going to get that character. This has nothing to do with what we just read.
Yeah, it's technically set in the same universe. It's wildly incongruent with X-Men Noir, because Wolverine Noir is Jim Logan Hallett and his mentally handicapped brother Dog running a detective agency.
Yeah, Logan and Logan. And immediately, right from Jump Street, the art is significantly better in this series.
Are you talking about the art that C.P. Smith does with writing by Stuart Moore?
I am. And it was a good feeling to get away from the the knot that Fred Van Lente was creating over there in X-Men Noir and get something that was very on the nose, like this is going to be a noir detective story, because who walks into Logan and Logan but Mariko? And
yeah, this beautiful, beautiful lady walks into his place, says she needs his services.
That's right. And we are off to the races. So we have a Dog who is really, he just doesn't seem to be in his right mind. Repeats himself a lot, very violent. And slowly, as we go through these 4 issues and we start to meet other characters like Lady Deathstrike and we meet Creed, it becomes apparent that we are definitely reading a reinterpretation of Wolverine's origins, the original miniseries.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
This is actually better than Wolverine's real origin.
I was just going to say that. It is a really fun take on that story that I like a lot. We never ranked that.
Yet. We've not ranked it yet. But we will rank Wolverine Origins.
This is a fun take on this. So, similar to X-Men Noir, Wolverine Noir, Wolverine does not have powers. He's go ahead. Tell him what he's got.
His Irish gardener, when he was a kid, at his reverend father's stately manor, taught him how to use knives real good. So now he has a bunch of knives, including knives that he wears between his fingers like Wolverine claws.
Yeah. He's
his
basically
dad did
got
not like that.
He got like Daredeviled. You know what I mean? Like his estate's gardener, basically his stick and taught him how to be a ninja samurai warrior.
Yep, that's all it is.
It's great.
And he gets real into this girl on his estate, Rose. He has a lot of feelings for her. Doesn't know how to handle them. But what we do know is Rose is gone. Dog goes missing. We're trying to sort out what's happening. He thinks Creed might be behind it. Might be this whole big conspiracy tied in with Mariko and her crime family and everything that's going on. There's a lot of not original beats, but very good like noir beats. Like if you're gonna do X-Men, but it's a noir story and like a hard noir story, you want it to just be this.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is what I thought I was signing up for when I read X-Men Noir. You know, like I want
Yeah.
the femme fatale to walk into the detective agency and send the main character spiraling into, and maybe it's just easier because it doesn't have to be a quote unquote team book. It can just be Wolverine, looking for his missing partner. And then we get his tragic backstory, which, oh gosh, you just feel, you really, I don't know, like you kind of feel bad. I feel bad for Dog in this story. He really,
because Wolverine mentally handicaps him by stabbing him a bunch and slashes Rose across the face when he's in love with Rose and finds out that her and Dog are they are copulating.
They are in a physical relationship, and we don't
They
realize
know each other biblically.
Yeah, we don't realize how injured he got to Rose, but spoiler alert on this story, she turns out to be the big bad.
Yeah, she wants revenge because Wolverine cut her in the face real bad, and she's mad because now she's ugly and disfigured, and she says he's ruined her life, which, look, fair. And she's doing all this to just get revenge on him.
Doesn't work out so well for her.
It doesn't. Everyone dies except for Wolverine.
Yeah, and like there's this nice crossover between like the violence of a Wolverine story that you expect and the tragic outcomes that often come with like a Raymond Chandler book where nobody really gets out unscathed. Everybody is cracked up somehow. So man,
Well, it's good. There's no heroes.
no.
There's no winners. This is just the story of some broken people in a broken down part of town in a bad part of time who are hurting themselves more and more by everything they do.
Yeah. And how I know I enjoyed this is because there is a very tragic end to Dog. And man, if I didn't wince when that happened at the end of this story, I felt so bad for him.
He gets trained. The dog gets trained. And by
Wow.
trained, I mean a train hits him.
Yeah, tied to the tracks.
Train hits him real good.
Whew, it's rough, man. But I gotta say, like, I feel like there was real emotion here. It's definitely getting the genre right, and I thought the art was good. I like that it was a really good take on that origin story that I don't know that everybody enjoys from the original miniseries.
Guys, if we've got a lot of Wolverine Origins fans out here, don't tell us. Let us make fun of this story, please.
So this one's a lot better than the first one that we talked about. I enjoyed this quite a bit.
It is better. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is it better than that? Is it better than number 200, that first X-Men or X-Force Purple Era? Or
see.
actually, I'm going to say no, because at 205 we have Madrox, which is also a X-Men noir story.
Okay.
But just a noir story that is also an X-Men story. I think Madrox is better than this, but it's in the same ballpark.
Yeah, I also wouldn't put this above Wolverine Cocaine, which is at 204.
It's not as good as Wolverine Cocaine.
It's not.
as good as Wolverine Cocaine.
No. Let me look. I think we're in the right neighborhood, though, because I wouldn't go much lower than that.
I think this is better than 214, which is X Factor XL.
I think so, too.
Better than Nation X, I'd say.
I enjoyed
from
this better
Uncanny.
than The Invisible Woman Has Vanished at 209.
Yeah, I say that's fair.
Maybe it's... I don't think it's as good as the I Magneto one.
Yeah, that's where I was
Uncanny.
staring at.
Yeah, that's a good ceiling right there, I think.
Yeah, I think number 208, which is Uncanny X-Men 148 to 150, I Magneto is better than this.
Yes.
But this can be our new 209.
Yeah, and if you are a Wolverine fan, and, like, I love when there's just a really good Wolverine mini. It's not like it needs to be this, profound story or anything, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, this is a fun one. This was the highlight of my X-Men Noir weekend.
You mean Noir Weapon X Noir was not to your liking?
Weapon X Noir is a one-shot. It's the next one we're doing. It's by Dennis Calero. He does everything. It's a prequel sequel to the sequel to X-Men Noir, which is X-Men Noir, The Mark of Cain.
Okay. This one's a Nightcrawler story.
Kind of. It's about the demon, Kurt Wagner.
Yes.
He's part of his traveling circus, and the traveling circus goes to Wundagore, and at the circus, Prince Windgard is murdered. And Weapon X, also known as Rankin, also known as Mimic, does come to investigate.
Yeah, we don't quite know who or what Weapon X is until, about halfway through the story? I mean,
Something like that.
And it's portrayed in an interesting way because Mimic is in Marvel continuity he's got multiple X-Men powers. But here, he's kind of pulling a Game of Thrones thing where he's like using people's faces.
Yeah. To do
I didn't need that face anymore. I drop it. I was unclear whether Mimic had powers or not in this story.
I don't think anyone in the Noirniverse has real powers.
So he just has kind of like a Play-Doh face.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of faces that he takes on and puts off, which is gross.
It is gross. And Nightcrawler is depicted as this guy who wears a blue mask. He doesn't have a blue.
It's a
blue
demon mask.
Right. And he is the world's most amazing escape artist. So how could he have shot the prince? Because he was tied to an electric chair from the ceiling in the circus tent?
Yeah, but he did anyway because he's a great master assassin.
I was going to say,
that's the story,
alert.
guys. I don't know what to tell you. Hey,
yeah.
One of the two people in this story that have any lines is the killer of this murder mystery.
Yeah,
and it's not the guy investigating the murder.
No, Fenris shows up. At least one half of Fenris.
Yeah, I guess. Friggin', who cares about Fenris? Andreas von Strucker sucks.
He's there. He's looking forward to torturing the prisoner. And how does this all wrap up? I mean, it turns out that Mimic, a.k.a. Weapon X, the detective in this story, he's got it pretty much figured out.
Yeah, they solved the crime. That's it. It's boring. Honestly, it kind of sucks, guys. This one's not even fun to talk about. It's a weird one-shot. The art's just as bad as X-Men Noir. With a little bit more lighting.
Less characters, so we don't have as big of a cast to deal with, which is helpful.
Only one person constantly in a fedora and trench coat.
right. And even though he's changing faces constantly, at least the costume stays the same. And you're right. There's a little bit better contrast. I didn't catch if the colorist was different in this issue, but
no, it's still Claro.
It is? Okay. Well, they've lightened things up. It's not as muddy. There's a lot more blue and green and
Yeah.
Scenes are supposed to take place during the daytime in this story.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'd give higher marks to the artwork here, but like you said, there's just not much to it. The issue is divided up into chapters for some reason. I guess to seem like, an old school Golden Age comic, but
I guess
it's not purposeful for any
just
reason.
Scenes. No, it's just different scenes.
Yeah. And it all just kind of happens. Like, did you say that this is a prequel to the Kane Marco stuff in the other one?
Yeah, because the demon does show up in Mark of Cain. He's one of the all-new, all-different X-Men that the Professor of Crime has assembled. But he's still a nothing person. He just does kills. He does kills while wearing a demon mask.
Oh, well, now he needs the mask because he is burned at the end of this story.
Yeah,
so,
he does get himself all injured up, and he doesn't like it, so he hides behind a demon mask.
You know what's telling about the Noirverse here is that you have Into the Spider-Verse uses Spider-Man Noir, and it's like a really great gag, and it's awesome having Nicolas Cage there, and that character has come back multiple times in the Spider-Verse, in the comics, and it's in the movie. I don't think there's an X writer out there who's like, man, we need an excuse to bring the X-Men Noir characters into continuity.
Here's the thing about Spider-Man Noir. He's a gag. Like,
right.
It's like, oh, this is kind of a neat design. And he's a gag in that movie, and it's a good gag, and it's a funny gag. But his entire characterization is, I'm in black and white, and I talk about malts and being sad, and what's this Rubik's Cube?
Right. But I can't, like, I'm trying to imagine a scenario where through some sort of multiversal link, like, we wanted to visit these characters again. Like, there's always, like, you know, a desperate need to get the Age of Apocalypse characters back into the 616. There's not going to be an attempt at any point editorially to be like, guys, there's a real fan base for X-Men Noir. Let's.
Then why did they make 4 different series of this?
Who knows? I don't know. I guess there was enough sales with the Spidey stuff to justify it. But aside from the Wolverine book, I can't recommend the other 3 here. Not that we're reviewing the 4th one, but
hey, I'll give you a recommendation. It's not very good either.
Yeah,
Fred Van Linty's a talented guy. I don't know what his deal is with these.
It's just not happening, man. It's not. So why don't we put this one out of its misery? Is this better or worse than X-Men Noir? I think it's duller.
Better.
You think it's better?
I think it's duller. I think it's...
I mean,
we're in the right ballpark. It's not... Okay, here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
If it's better, then it's not better than 340, which is Iceman Volume 1.
Oh, no way. No way.
And it's not...
Is it better than that Onslaught? X-Force X-Man?
No, look, it's either right above or right below X-Men Noir.
I'm gonna say I enjoyed the Angel stuff in X-Men Noir more than anything I read in this one shot. So
cool.
This should just go right below it. Perfect. We'll bury them together with cement shoes and dump them in a river.
I'll be honest. This is a 1-issue, 1-shot, and I did fall asleep while reading it.
You got to chapter 3 and we're like, oh my god, this is endless. It's like a 20-page
To be fair, it's 32, and I do fall asleep in front of comics a lot because I'm a sleepy boy and I read comics on lazy Sunday afternoons when I just want a nap, dang it.
No judgment, man. No judgment whatsoever.
I took a nap over lunch today. It was delightful.
Oh, that sounds really nice. You know what?
It was great until my son woke me up and he was like, "What's Daddy doing?" I was like, "Dude, I had like a half hour and I didn't want to be on my phone, so I just shut my eyes and it was great. Why'd you do that?" "No, we can't play Donkey Kong right now. I'm very sorry. You need to get better at Donkey Kong."
Oh, kids.
We're playing Donkey Kong right now. He plays his Funky Kong in Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropic Freeze because Funky Kong has a surfboard that means he can float and land on the spikes without dying, and he has twice as much life as everybody else.
That sounds awesome. I would play with Funky Kong.
I would not
no
because I like the challenge of Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropic Freeze, but it's a very good, I just want to play video games with my kid kind of character because he can legitimately play and try and make progress, but the margin of error is much wider for him. It's like he can not handicap the game too much while I'm over here with Cranky Kong bouncing around like I'm Scrooge McDuck from the DuckTales game. No joke, that's what he does.
You're reminding me of the time that I set my daughter. My daughter's a little bit older now, but back when she was little, she wanted to play. I have like a video game emulator for NES, and I set her up with
Adam. Those are illegal, and I am going to have to report you to the video game police.
Okay, I mean this was a long time ago in a land far away.
Sure. You had all the cartridges still, so it was fine.
Yes, so I set her up with a Game Genie code on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
Now that does break the Nintendo's terms of service right there. using a game genie. That brought this back into litigious territory.
But man, I mean, you could just die however many times you want. It's not a problem. Man, I feel like we just talked about video games a little bit more than we talked about that last story.
Y'all, I would much rather talk about me and my son playing Donkey Kong or Smash Bros. than any of those Noir stories. I could talk about my hot Smash Bros strats because he's bad at jumping and staying on the stages. We play time mode where we're on a team and we have a bunch of other teams, and the goal is for me to get as many kills as I can to offset the number of times he jumps off the stage so that we can win.
That's great.
It's a fun challenge where I can't rely on my teammate, and in fact, I am deeply handicapped by my teammate.
That's going to be that way for a while, so just get used to it. Now,
he's getting better. He's getting so much better.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah. Now, Zach, since the last time we spoke, there have been some changes to the Xavier Files media empire. Am I right?
There have been some changes. Dan Grote and the team at WMQ Comics have been absorbed by us. We now have a symbiotic relationship where he commissions and writes a bunch of articles and stuff with him and his great team, and then I pay for the hosting.
Nice.
It's great. Dan's an incredible editor. You can check out his podcast, WMQ&A, which is now hosted on the XavierFiles.com website. There's a button you can click if you want to go right on over to it. Yeah, grip it and rip it out. I hear you. Is that a Shasta?
No,
what kind of soda you got there?
That was my iPad rubbing against my laptop, which is not a good sound. Sorry. I promise to pop a cold one after we get off the air.
No, you're good. You're good. But no, they're doing some great work. We've already had a ton of cool articles go up this week, just in the last 3 days. So it's very exciting. We're talking about more than just X-Men and more than just Marvel Comics now. There's something about Superman up there. I talked about an AWA comic, Artist, Writers, and Artisans. That really good and definitely not at all weird publishing house that came out. I did not like the comic I read. I was mean to it.
I love that there's like a wider variety of stuff. I've been a huge fan of WMQ in a while. I think I got on their show at one point, but they're great. I've hung out with Dan before, and I think him and his team are an awesome addition to the Xavier Files media empire.
They're great. We're so glad to have them. And now we're going to transition into ending the show because I did forget how to do that. John Wickman, thank you so much for being a patron on Patreon. If you want to be like John Wickman and be a patron on Patreon, you got to go to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom. And then at the $2 a month or higher level, you can get an episode handcrafted. Just meticulously. Our trained Swiss craftsmen will take your suggestion, the nugget of truth that you put into this world. And we will carve it, we will water it, we will nurture it into a fully formed episode of Battle of the Atom filled with such great ideas.
It's like artisanal cheese.
Yep. Yep, just like a real stanky Gouda here.
Zach, where could people find all that awesome content you were talking about?
XavierFiles.com or on Twitter at XavierFiles. What about you, Adam? What you got?
You guys can always find me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. Man, we just spent this episode in total black and white. I feel like we need a Technicolor fantasy world for next episode. What do you think?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Kitty's Fairy Tale. It's fun. There's Bamfs. I've not... Oh, wait. Why did we write... I forgot some of the stories we're doing. I'm going to look at...
We don't have to do those. We just know we're doing Kitty's Fairy Tale.
We'll do Kitty's Fairy Tale. This one that I have highlighted, I don't actually want to read again. I read that recently. It sucks.
All right.
In fact, I've deleted that from the list. We're not going... What I can tell you we aren't going to do next week is cover C.B. Cebulski's X-Men Fairy Tales, because I do not feel like reading that again. I read it in the last 6 months. It's boring.
Oh, all right. Well...
It's not that good # content.
Understandable. But we will be talking about fairy tales next week, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about fairy tales and pirates and stories. But until then, guys, this has been BotA the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!